literature students. This is Ms. Shaver. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about your constructed response that you're going to do. Keep in mind this constructed response is going to count as a quiz grade, okay? That's why I pushed other assignments to next week so you can really focus all of your attention on writing the best constructed response of your life, okay? So I wanted to talk to you first about the two different passages and kind of some of my observations, which will hopefully help you answer the constructed response question. First of all, you probably noticed when you read this first passage that passage one uses a lot of statistics and facts to back up their argument. Both passages, the purpose of both passages is to essentially show how student debt, talking about student debt when you go to college, how that affects graduates in a lot of different ways. And so the first passage really focuses on lots of statistics and facts. You guys will see when you read through it, there's lots of numbers that kind of jump out to you, okay? When you read through the second passage, you'll notice that there's less facts and statistics. There's actually more stories. If you look down at the very bottom, it says students' names provided in this text are fictitious. What that means is essentially this text shows you, it gives you fake stories or made up stories of how student debt can affect graduates. All right, so it kind of gives you an example of like walking in somebody's shoes, right, who has student debt. However, these stories are all stories, right? They're not based off of real people who are really living with them. Okay, so now that we've talked about the passages and the kind of the styles, the difference between the two, let's talk about your assignment. So, first of all, this is the question that you're going to be answering, which is which author's style and content most effectively support his or her purpose, okay? So, you basically need to make the decision whether you think that the first passage, which focuses on facts and statistics, okay, whether that is more or less effective than the second passage, which focuses on kind of telling stories, how debt affects somebody. So you need to figure out which one is more effective, all right? And then you need to write a constructed response, which clearly answers that question. You need to use 3 pieces of evidence to back you up and really explain what your evidence proves about your argument. I want to talk to you guys just being honest, okay? Something that I have noticed as I've been grading your Common Lit assignments. We started out this 9 weeks doing the Pit and the Pendulum constructed response question. I thought overall you guys did a really fantastic job with that question. But what I've noticed is as the semester has kind of gone on, your constructed responses have gotten weaker in quality. And so I want you guys to really focus all of your attention this week on writing the best constructed response of your life, because it's going to be worth a quiz grade, right? So it's going to be worth a very significant portion of your grade until we get another quiz grade in there, okay? So it's going to have, if you are currently failing right now, this could potentially bring you up, lots of points and really help you. So if you know that your grade really needs a little bit of help right now, this assignment can absolutely impact your grade in a really big way. I want to explain very clearly how I am grading it and my expectations, okay? So here it is. For full credit, you need to clearly answer the question and explain your answer. You need to cite evidence from both passages, at least 3 quotes or paraphrases. You need to clearly summarize each piece of evidence and then tell what the evidence proves or shows about your argument. That's 2 sentences of explanation per quote minimum. And then you need to make sure that you put passage 1 or passage 2 in your citing, so I know which passage you're referring to. This is your first quiz grade. Here's how the points break down. Whether you clearly answer the question, and to clearly answer the question, you have to address both passages, okay? And I'll explain how to do that in just a second. Using 3 pieces of evidence, that's worth 3 points. And then your analysis is worth 6 points. Notice it's only out of 12 points total. So your analysis is worth half of your grade, okay? Huge part of your grade. So you really need to pay attention to that analysis and do a really good job with that. And then citing your evidence correctly is worth another point. So it's a total of 12 points. All right, this is the structure of what I want you guys to do. And I've told you, how many kind of sentences I want and exactly what I want you to do. So you need to start it off with saying one sentence that states which passage is more effective and why. All right, so remember the question is which author's style and content most effectively supports his or her purpose. If you think the first passage is more effective, Okay, if using facts and statistics to you is more persuasive than, telling stories of people and, being able to put yourself in their shoes. If you think facts and statistics is better, you would say the first author's or passage one author's style and content most effectively supports his or her purpose because they use lots of facts and statistics which prove, and then fill in the blank what it proves about student debt. Okay? If you think the other way, if you think that the second passage is more effective, you would say the second passage author style and content most effectively supports his or her purpose because they demonstrate what it's like for someone to actually live with student debt and how it affects their lives. And then explain what it shows kind of about student debt, right? What their purpose is. Of course, the purpose of both passages is to explain how debt affects graduates. Okay, they just do it in two different ways. Then what you're going to do is you're going to state which passage is not effective and why. So if you chose passage one being effective, you'll say passage two is authors is not as effective in supporting their content and style because they use fictitious stories, fake stories that aren't even real, and this isn't as persuasive. If you have the opposing argument, if you think that that is effective, you would say something like passage one author is ineffective in supporting their content and purpose because they just use a bunch of numbers that are meaningless. Telling stories about how debt affects graduates is much more persuasive. So again, you just have to pick a side. Then what you are going to do is you are going to pick a quote from the effective passage. So you'll say passage one states or passage two states. You'll give a quote. And then you'll have your analysis, which is two sentences. You'll have one sentence where you summarize the evidence in your own words. So what does the evidence show about student debt? Okay, how is it supporting the author's purpose? Okay, and then another sentence explaining why it's effective, the style, why the style is effective. So you're either going to be saying that using these facts and statistics is very effective because, and then you'll explain basically, the fact that maybe numbers are more persuasive to you personally, because maybe you're a numbers person. If you think the story passage is more effective, then you'll talk about how this shows what it's like to live with student debt and walk in somebody else's shoes, which is very effective. To me, because maybe you're looking at going to college and you're saying, wow, these students have all this debt, and these passages really show that and are effective because of that. So again, you're going to have one sentence where you summarize the evidence in your own words, and it's just you're kind of explaining the purpose of the evidence, and then you're having a sentence explaining why it's effective. You're going to do the same thing. You're just going to repeat that same step for this step, and then the last one that you're going to do is you're going to have a quote from the not effective passage. Okay, so the one that you think isn't as effective as the other one, and you're going to basically do the same thing, but you're going to explain why it's not effective. Okay. And again, you'll have two sentences not effective. So I know this might be confusing if you're just looking at the structure of it and you're saying, I'm not really sure what a good constructed response looks like. So what I have done is I will upload this into Teams. This is from the Pit and the Pendulum constructed response that you guys did several weeks ago. But this is an exemplar response of somebody who got full credit for a constructed response. So if you're confused as to saying, I'm not sure about how long this constructed response should be or what a full credit constructed response looks like, this is a constructed response that one of you wrote, okay, in this class. So you can read through this and you can kind of see that this student does a really great job of answering the question. They provide text evidence, 3 separate pieces of text evidence, and then they have at least 2 sentences after each quote where they explain what it shows, right? And in this instance, they're saying what it shows about the theme, right? In your responses, you're going to be talking about the style, why the quote is important, how the style, is persuasive, essentially. So why facts and statistics are persuasive, or why, telling a story, putting yourself in their shoes, why that's persuasive. So if you guys have questions about this assignment, okay, please make sure that you email me and ask me questions. I probably won't have this graded until maybe early next week, or maybe I might be able to get it done on Friday, but this is due on Thursday, so try to get it in, turned in by Thursday. If you have any questions, make sure you email me. Hopefully it makes sense what you're doing. Again, this is the major assignment for this week, so please make sure that you put your full effort towards it. Do your very best work. Write the best constructed response of your life, okay? And I look forward to reading your work. Email me if you have any questions.